Okay, so we're nearly there to the end of our half of the Cold War that we're studying. So we've got 1968 now, which is the Prague Spring. And the Prague Spring is very similar to the Hungarian Uprising in terms of the Prague is the capital of the Czechoslovakia at the time, Czech Republic now. And people there have been talking about the repression of the communist system for a while, particularly the more educated people, the university professors and those sorts of people that kind of do research and have more access to kind of books and like culture from other countries. There's been a growing movement amongst those people, and also artistic people who write plays and poetry and books and things. They've got access to things like that, and they're kind of thinking there must be another way. And a man becomes the leader, Alexander Dubček, who he wants more progression towards a more fair and less brutal system, restricts the movements and activities of the secret police. And then what happens as a result of this is more people are able to speak out. There's less censorship going on, which is a key hallmark of communism, is this censorship of what people are allowed to say on TV and on radio and in newspapers. And in fact, it leads to people like a government minister was on telly being grilled for 2 hours about all the abuses of human rights and all the problems caused by communism. And they start to talk about the idea of having more democracy, and all the people that are most against this are actually the other leaders, the other communist leaders of the other European countries like Poland and Hungary and Bulgaria. They're appalled by this because they're thinking if it happens there, then we're going to get overthrown in our country. So we need the Soviet Union to do something about it. So there's meetings between Leonid Brezhnev, who's the leader of the Soviet Union by this stage, and Alexander Dubček, the leader of Czechoslovakia. And he assures Brezhnev, we're not leaving the Warsaw Pact. We wouldn't do that. It's going to be fine. We can still be on your side. We can still protect the Soviet Union and have a little bit of freedom at home. We're not doing that. But Brezhnev is unconvinced, and he decides that he's sending in the troops in the same way that Khrushchev did. There's not much fighting in the same way that there was in the Hungarian uprising. So not many people are killed. It's quite a bloodless sort of affair. But what does happen is it assures the Czechoslovak people that there will be no moving away from the repression of the communism, and they stay communist for another 22, 23 years after this. And they've just not got any opportunity to leave communism, and they certainly won't be leaving the Warsaw Pact either way. And this idea of being very brutal and harsh on people who are trying to leave communism becomes known as Brezhnev doctrine. And it's just like the Hungarian uprising, it's kind of a point of tension because the Americans would want to get involved and help, and the United Nations, it's their job to help stop repression and oppression like this. But they can't, because if they send troops, they'll be fighting against Soviet troops on the ground, and that will be something that will lead not to a proxy war, but to an actual war. It'll make the Cold War into a real war very quickly, and they cannot have that. They have to avoid that. So kind of an isolated incident, 1968, very similar to the Hungarian uprising. But remember, they're worried about the idea, spreading the idea that people can have a bit more freedom. If that was to spread around Eastern Europe and into the Soviet Union, it could lead to the eventual overthrow of the communist system entirely, and that's something they cannot tolerate.